All right, ladies and gentlemen, come on in. Stay a while. It's time to get coached up with another edition of the Coach Scott Field Show. You might be watching us on DBTV, which is a national and international cable network that's a first of its kind. And I am thrilled to say that because of that network, we can be seen in over 300 million households around the globe. You could be seeing us on CSTV, or you could be watching us on the Rewind Sports 60 networks and channels. Thank you for choosing us for your viewership options. I am eternally grateful. If you're listening to us in podcast form, let's get the elephant out of the room. We two good looking men are going to put that flavor in your ear. So turn us up. Hey, and if you would for us, because of all those algorithms, please like and follow the Coach Scott Field Show right here on Facebook and enjoy the content and interact with us. And also smash that subscribe button on our YouTube channel. And we appreciate the conversation. Without further ado, let me introduce my friend and an amazing colleague, a mentor. This guy has, and I'm going to share this with you because he's too humble to say it, but an outstanding college career, his coaching, unbelievable success at both the college and professional levels. We're going to share those stories here with you this hour. My buddy, Coach Russ Bergman. Coach, how are you, brother?
I'm doing great, Scott. It's just so great to be on your show. You've had so many great, college and professional players and professional people of all different fields and just unbelievable Hall of Fame people. It's just an honor to be on your show, Scott.
Well, to have you come on this show once again, you've been with us a few times. You've been a part of our CBA coaches panel, which was so much fun to chop it up with some of the best CBA coaches that the league ever had. And to just have a friend come on and share your stories and share your wisdom, it's just unbelievable to me, and I'm just so humbled, buddy.
Well, thank you so much. You and I, Scott, when we get together, we can easily tear up 3 hours and keep talking. So it's just a matter of what highlights and what topics you want to talk about because we'll fill the air.
Oh man, well, hey, I appreciate your friendship, and gosh, I can remember the first time I watched you coach. I was down in Florida visiting my grandparents, and you were coaching the Oklahoma City team, and you were coaching against an Eric Musselman Florida Beach Dogs team, and I sit there and watched you coach and your energy and your passion, and I said, I want to be just like that guy.
Well, I appreciate that so much. I was so blessed that Jim Sleeper, my man who was my assistant coach, head of player personnel, he just did an unbelievable job of signing great players for me to coach. And, every coach, behind every great coach are great players. And I was very fortunate that he brought in some great ones. Good players make you a hell of a coach. I learned that early on in college that if you're going to be a successful college coach, you better get some players because good players beat good coaching every day. So very fortunate, Jim Sleeper. We had an awesome team in the CBA. That was my third year in Oklahoma City coaching professional basketball. And we, worked to build the program, get better and better every year. And we had actually lost 10 players to the NBA that year on call-ups, and we still got some of them back, but put it all together finally in time for the playoffs. And then it all peaked right there at the end. And, Eric Musselman's a great coach. He's doing an unbelievable, great job. At Arkansas, he did a great job, in the NBA, coached 2 NBA teams.
That's right.
So it's not like we were coaching against any slouch. And at the same time, he had an unbelievable, great talent, on the other end of the court. So we were fortunate to be able to beat them in a 7-game series. We beat them best 4 out of 2.
Wow, that's
Yeah, we beat
great
them
stuff.
4-2. Yeah.
Great stuff. Recalling some of those players, because you're right, great players make great coaches out of us in a hurry. Who were some of those guys that had those call ups, just for our viewers and listeners today?
Elmer Bennett, who ended up being our MVP when we won the championship there in West Palm Beach. I mean, Elmer got several call-ups with Houston, some different NBA teams, and I thought sure he would stick because he had the talent, great person, an unbelievable team leader, great point guard. just sometimes you just got to be with the right coach and right team at the right time to stick in the NBA. He never found the right situation for him. And so he went over to Spain and made a ton of money over in Europe and then finally retired. And the thing that I appreciate so much about Elmer Bennett, he wrote me an awesome letter thanking me so much about helping him with his career. And I gave him the self-confidence that turned him to a much higher level pro. And, you know, anytime you coach players, whether it's college or pro, and you get feedback like that, sometimes we don't make the most money like the professional athletes do, but when you get letters like that, it makes it all worthwhile.
Man, coach, you're exactly right because the fact that you were able to impact lives, empower them, provide them with tools, give them longevity to be able to provide for their families. There's just nothing better, to hear from those guys and then for them to be able to articulate and share with you, how you impacted their lives. Because this profession that we're in, it's all about relationships.
No question about it. You know, then all at once, I'm over in Russia coaching with his team there, helping take it to another level. And we finally get to the finals of the FIBA Cup, and we're playing a team from Spain, and Juventut's the name of it. And who's their point guard? Elmer Bennett. We
Wow.
play them in the championship game of the FIBA Cup, and Elmer gets MVP again. Unfortunately, his team won and our team didn't, but I was very happy for Elmer and actually put him on Russian TV and interviewed him after the game. And it was great. You know, I had a
Oh.
win-win situation. Win if our team wins, win if Elmer's team wins. So it was
Oh,
great.
and it truly does show how small of a world it is because here you are overseas coaching a FIBA club. You guys cross paths again and get to compete again. And there's just nothing better.
It is. Another player we had on that team was Galen Skip Nickerson, and he made several NBA teams but never stuck. We had Doug Smith, you know, that played for the Dallas Mavericks several years, a great player out of the
Wow.
University of Missouri. Uh, Played with Melvin Booker there, you know, Devin Booker's father, and I got all kind of
Yeah,
stories about Melvin Booker because he played for us in Moscow, Russia. And of course,
man.
you know, if you wonder why Devin Booker's so good, look at his dad, Melvin Booker, the best point guard, total all around. There was a great leader, control all of his teammates, make the big shots, physical when he needed to be physical, made a lot of money, had several call ups in the NBA, didn't stick, was a Big Eight player of the year at the University of Missouri, but made a ton of money in Italy and also Russia. But anyway, it's so great to talk about these players and bring them
Oh,
back up. And then, like I was getting ready to talk about Doug Smith, Doug, player of the year also in the Big Eight, you know, great player at University of Missouri, signed with the Dallas Mavericks, drafted by them. I don't know how many years for sure he's with the Mavericks, but he actually played power forward for us at 6'9" or 6'10" and
hmm.
continuously could shoot the three. And then we had Shelton Jones as our starting
Oh,
center. And Shelton could run the floor like a gazelle and just had a fire inside of him. And of course, he played at St. John's, but also played for a lot of NBA teams. So we had great players in the CBA. Don't think we didn't. People don't understand that it was. And when you say AAA basketball, that's exactly what it was. We were actually just a step below the NBA. And of course, at times we thought that we could beat one of the lower teams in the NBA sometimes. But we went over when I got to Boise, Idaho. We went over and played in a tournament. We were invited to a tournament to play in southern France, and so was Connecticut Pride or Hartford Pride. I can't remember the name of their team at the time because they had a couple of different teams. But we played in a tournament there. One team from France that hosted, another team from Italy, and so we beat the team from I guess from Italy the first night. They beat the team from France, and then we beat the Connecticut team for the championship game.
wow.
This team in Italy and France were good teams over in the European League. So, you know, when you talk about how good the Euro League is and all the different levels of Europe, the CBA back then was truly the second best, you know, level of basketball in the world.
Yeah, I don't even think that's a debate because the level of coaches that were there, the level of the players and the talent and the athleticism of the players there, because they were so hungry to prove to get that, to get that platform to showcase their skills for the NBA scouts. Unbelievable talent in that league.
They were extremely highly motivated. That was what
Oh,
was so great about coaching in the CBA is they're so driven because they want to get to the NBA and make the big money. I mean, if they got a 10-day call up, I mean, that was almost their whole year's salary with the CBA team.
that's
So
right.
it was great for them. And, it's kind of like being going to law school and then you finally graduate and then you're like a rookie with a law firm and you don't make much money. But if you do make it with a law firm, then you make the big bucks, just like making it to the NBA. So
You know,
we had to sell our players on that because some of them they wanted to go overseas for the big money, and the ones that I thought had a chance to making it to the league, I said you just need to stay right here, keep getting better, stay focused, and you get that call up. And if you stick, you're set for life.
man, great, just great stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, again, this is Coach Russ Bergman, personal friend of mine who is just everywhere he goes, winning follows him. And there's a reason for that winning. The way he would create a culture for his team, the way he would communicate with his team, the way he would coach his players up, put people in a position to be successful. One of the best to ever do it right here on the Coach Scott Field Show. I want to go back something that you and we don't really talk much about, and I want the viewers of this show and the listeners of this show to know about your college career and who you played for and who you played with back with that tiger over your shoulder there.
Well, I was, very fortunate that out of high school, I had several offers, but ended up signing a full athletic scholarship with Louisiana State University, the LSU Fighting Tigers, and that's the Fighting Tiger back over my head right here. And I played my freshman year down there, and lo and behold, I'm getting ready. My sophomore year, I'm thinking, I'm going to walk in and have a chance to start and hopefully have a great career down here. And then we heard about we're getting a new coach. And then we're hearing with this new coach, his son's supposed to be a high school All-American, went to prep school, supposed to be one of the greatest, high school players to ever come out. And he's, unbelievable talented, can not only shoot from downtown, but he also has got unbelievable ball handling skills, can pass, not only around his back, but between his legs, and no look passes. And you hear all this stuff, and a lot of players coming out of high school get all this hype,
Yeah.
and you just don't say, yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I'm going to wait until we have the first pickup game. All colleges, you can't wait to get the greenhorns coming in as freshmen and see really how good or how bad they really are. Because sometimes every once in a while they have a great player they sign, and sometimes they made a mistake and the kid's not as good as everybody thought.
Right.
But anyway, I'll never forget my sophomore year, Pete's freshman year, the first time we got together before we started practice and played a pickup game. And I'm playing against this guy, and what he could do with the basketball. I mean, his range was unbelievable. I mean, long distance shooter, and his ball handling, his passing. I mean, he could do anything he wanted to do. And no matter who tried to stop him or two people tried to stop him, we still couldn't stop him.
Wow.
Well, I'm thinking, okay, this guy's luckily a freshman, because if he was a sophomore, starting job would already be locked up. So if I'm going to play with him when he becomes a sophomore, I got to find a way that I'm going to get on the court with him. And so I figured, well, since his dad's a coach, he's probably going to do a lot of scoring. So I probably don't need to worry about being a scorer. I better worry about how am I going to get on the court the best way with Pistol Pete. And I thought, well, play defense. You need somebody to play defense, to get a job and be able to play while he's doing all the offense. And he's probably going to rest some on defense. And if you want to play with him, coach is not putting you in the game to score. That's what he plans on his son doing. And so
Right.
anyway, that's what I really honed in and focused on. That was the main reason why I got on the court at LSU, was because of my defense.
Wow. And you think of the legend of Pistol Pete, may he rest in peace as he was, died way too early. You see the documentaries and you hear about the floppy socks, but when you see the ball handling and his basketball IQ and court awareness and his ability to pass, What were some of the first things that stood out in your mind about him as a player, even though you were going to be competing with and against him? But what's the first thing that stood out in your mind when he first stepped on that court for those open gyms?
Probably that, I thought that I practiced so much as a kid growing up and spent a lot of extra time, before school, after practice, in the morning before school started, during the summer. And I thought I put in a lot of hours. But when I first saw this guy dribble the ball, pass the ball, shoot the ball, and of course, he was an unbelievable athlete. He could play defense when he wanted to, too. But I said, this guy has put in unbelievable amount of hours of practice. And that's what people don't understand. Everybody wants to be Pistol Pete, even still today. And when
Yeah.
you talk to Magic Johnson, you talk to Isaiah Thomas, every NBA player that I've talked to, and you can see quotes, you can go on YouTube, and all those guys, Steve Nash, Steph Curry, all of them give the credit to the Pistol Pete homework that they learned how to handle the ball, pass the ball, and everything else from Pistol Pete. They
Man.
tried to emulate him. And so that's what people have to understand. Coach Maravich took his son, and like a piece of clay, he worked with him as a young kid starting at 6 years old, and worked with him, taught him, practice, practice, practice. And when he got hooked, which was a dream for his dad, because he wanted him to be not only a great college player, but also a NBA player that would win a world championship, that Pete got hooked and he put the extra hours in on his own.
Yeah.
So he would ask his dad, what should I work on today? And his dad would give him certain drills and teach him. But what made Pete such an unbelievable great college player and pro is he had lived on what his dad taught him and took it to another level, then another level, because he came up with ball handling tricks and passing passes that his dad didn't teach him. He came up with these even on his own.
Wow.
But he was very lucky that he had a father that was such a great basketball junkie and a great college basketball coach.
Man.
And to have that kind of mentorship, most of us don't get because we don't have dads that are college coaches.
Yeah.
And so he was blessed that way. But because he was blessed, he practiced and took it to another level.
Man.
And so it's people, when he was playing at LSU, I mean, I can remember even Coach McCreary, our associate head coach, who was a great, great head coach in his right. And he said, Rusty, he said, sometimes he said, I think Pistol Pete actually gets bored during our games because it's not challenging enough for him, because he's going out there scoring 44 points a night with no 3-point line.
Right. That's what people don't realize. He's getting 40 points a game, leading the nation in scoring, and there's no 3-point line. It's just so before his time. If there would have been a 3-point line, I mean, I'm sure there's probably ways to do analytics and take a look at it on, with technology that we have today. How many points do you think he would have been scoring if there was a 3-point line?
Dale Brown superimposed with all the videos of his college career. He superimposed a 3-point line. Supposedly, he would have averaged another 10 points a game, 54 points, or possibly
My,
57 points a game. I can't remember if it was 10 or 13 more points a game more.
wow.
But
Wow.
knowing that Coach Maravich wanted him to be the best scorer of all time, he may have never let him shoot anything but a 3-point shot. But also, I think people sometimes think that Pistol Pete was a hog and, hog the ball, wanted to shoot all the time. That was more his dad's pushing him to be this kind of scorer rather than Pete. Pete really sometimes felt guilty because he was scoring so many points and his teammates didn't get that many shots. But when you're the dad, when your dad's a head coach and you do what the coach says, that's what Pete was trying to make his coach happy. It just happened to be his dad.
Yeah,
But
right. And I think now, I mean, now there's a statue erected, there at LSU.
at the PMAC Center, the Pete Maravich Assembly Center, where they play basketball at LSU, named after Pete Maravich. And now they this summer on his birth date, they dedicated a statue of Pistol Pete right there in front of it. And Jackie and his two sons were there. And it was just such a great thing for all four of them.
Man, that it gives me chills to think that, you've had the opportunity, to be around this greatness. And I've even heard stories, and I know I'd love to hear some of your stories, but I can remember them saying that, because of some of the innovation and creativity that he would actually, have a buddy drive in the car, and he would actually dribble outside the car window to, work on the hand speed and the hand-eye coordination, and again creating these drills to just help him be 10 times better than anybody else. What are some stories or legends that
Yeah.
you've heard about Pete?
His dad started that. His dad had him hanging out the window of the car while he drove, dribbling the basketball. And he'd say, okay, it's raining outside, it's nasty, rocks, mud, whatever. He said, go outside and work on your dribbling in the rain. And don't do it on the concrete, do it in the rocks and the mud. So you have to be able to learn how to dribble that way. And he'd say, go to the gym, throw 50 behind the back passes with your right hand and with your left hand, shoot 500, 20 footers, left hand,
Man.
right hand. I mean, he was so far ahead of his time that I mean, when I was in high school, and you've got to remember, I'm the same age as him.
Yeah.
He's actually a couple months older, but because he went a year of prep school, he was a freshman, I was a sophomore. But in high school, I got in trouble if I tried to throw a behind the back pass or between my back, or if I took a crazy shot,
Yeah.
and if it didn't go in. I mean, and Pete, he was instilled by his father to dribble between his legs, pass the ball behind his back, and he could make these unbelievable passes on the break, and that's what changed. He changed the game of basketball and how it was played.
It's so true. The
We take it
creativity, yes.
we take it for granted today the way kids dribble the ball between their legs, behind their back, the way they pass the ball. But when I was growing up, hardly anybody did that. Bob Cousy, yeah, he did it. There was a few other pros that did some of that, but nothing like what Pete did and what he started. And of course, every day I run into somebody when they find out that I played with Pistol Pete, roomed with him on the road or in college or whatever, they have a million questions, and they can't wait to hear all about the pistol and how he did this and how he did that. He said, I love Pistol Pete. I had the floppy socks. I had the long hair. I did everything I could to emulate Pistol Pete. It's just like when I was a kid, I used to emulate Elgin Baylor, with the twitch on his all that. I mean,
yeah.
so, there's so many people, you don't understand how many people, not only in the United States, but in the world, idolized and loved Pistol Pete and everything that he stood for as far as his innovation with the game of basketball. And like I said earlier, all the great pros that are supposed to be the great dribblers and passers of today and ball handlers, they all say it's because of Pistol Pete.
Man.
So it's not just me saying. It's not just me saying it.
Right. And
Magic
I want
Johnson,
to
all the big time players.
I want to encourage the younger viewers who don't know the history of the game. Go get on YouTube and see some of the footage of him playing, because, like you said, Coach, most coaches, they just teach fundamental basketball. They didn't want to see you showboat or hot dog or whatever term they would come up with. They wanted to, no, you need to be fundamentally sound. Don't be, trying to do too much. But Pistol, again, so beyond his time, and with the creativity and the vision, but the foresight of both his father and he to change the game the way he did. Where would the game be if we didn't have him to, at least let people see some of that and how he showcased it in the NBA?
Right. Well, let me interject this. Some people call it showboating, the things that he would do, but he took his passes and his dribbling to his offensive advantage to get by people, to pass around people, to shoot over people. He didn't just do it just to showboat. He did
That's
it
right.
to get an advantage on the defense. And
Yeah.
that's what people have to understand. It's just like Steph Curry. he does all those Pistol Pete homework drills before every game to get
Yep.
warmed up.
That's his routine. That's right.
Yeah. And if you go to YouTube and you put in Pistol Pete homework, they will give you all this free. People
Oh,
used to have to pay for all those videotapes. Now you can go on there and get every one of them free. See
oh,
all his dribbling, passing, shooting, everything that he teaches. And it's him teaching it. It's not somebody else. It's
right,
Pistol Pete. And you're
right.
getting that free right there on YouTube.
I, I
So
can I can coach. I can even remember there's a clip that always kind of resurfaces from time to time where he's with Coach Red Auerbach and he's doing that, between the leg dribble where he catches it behind his back and
yeah,
just the speed and the quickness and the ferocity of how he would do that drill. You're like, my goodness, the hand-eye coordination was above and beyond. And to think that many coaches back, in those days, they would put everybody in a box and talk about fundamentals, but just phenomenal.
yeah.
Is there any like story where, he had a 70-point game or is there a time where you think about it just kind of flashes back to you like, wow, I can't believe I just witnessed that.
Well, when you say a 70-point game, uh, we're playing at Alabama, and we got the game won. And at the end of the game, uh, somebody took it out of bounds and passed to me, and I knew he was getting ready to break 60. So,
Wow.
so I passed it to him. He catches it about half court, launches it just around half court on, I don't know what side, I can't remember what side of half court, and makes it. And of course, back then it was only 2 points.
Yeah.
That made it 61 points.
Wow.
Then his senior year, he scored 69 at Alabama. But I
Man.
remember we were playing down at Tulane, and Tom Nasalki, who later on, believe it or not, it was a big rival, us in Tulane, of course, LSU Tulane, but he actually became his head coach with the Utah Jazz.
Right here in Salt Lake City.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
And he wouldn't let Pete play in the games unless he practiced, the day before or the day of the game. And of course, Pete was dealing with a nagging knee injury or whatever. But I remember we were getting ready to play Tulane, and Tom Nasalki said, "Well, all you got to do is make him go left. He can't go left. He can only go right and score." So he went left. He went left against Tulane, scored 66 that night. Yeah. I scored 4. We scored 70 points together.
Oh man, great
Yeah.
stuff. Well, how about give us a story about his character and the type of person he was off the court? Where I mean, rooming with him on the road or whatnot. Is there a story that kind of sticks out that really encapsulate who he was as a person and his kind heart?
Well, I think he really, number one, he just wanted to be one of the guys.
Yeah.
And when you're the superstar and you're on the front of Sports Illustrated, 1 month, and then maybe the next month, and then maybe the next month after that, and you got all these people taking pictures of you all the time and wanting your autograph, and you're trying to be humble, and he was trying to be humble, and the pressure he faced on the court, it didn't matter what arena we played in on the road. Is Pistol Pete going to break this Coliseum record tonight?
Wow.
Is he going to break this Coliseum record tonight? It's like every marquee when we came into town, LSU plays Kentucky. It's Pistol Pete showtime. And I mean, nobody, we were so lucky to play with him because we played from a packed house every night, no matter where we played, whether it was home or away or whatever. In our home games, we were so popular with Pistol Pete that, the Cow Palace at LSU only would seat 11,000 people. So after the news went off at 10:30 in the Louisiana area because of Central Time Zone, then they would replay the whole game at 10:30. We could take our date after the game, go to a LSU hangout, and sit there with our date under our arm and say, "You see who that's up on TV? That's Pistol Pete, and that's yours truly." Anyway, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun, but he tried to be very modest, more than most people like that. It's very difficult when you have that Elvis presence and
Yeah.
everybody wants to
Wow.
touch you, wants a piece of you, wants your autograph, and to try to stay calm and cool whether you're out having dinner or you're out with some guys or you're out with your date. It makes it very difficult, and you have to keep your cool, because that's one reason why the athletic director let him move out of the athletic dorm going into his senior year, because so many of the other athletes were bothering him about an autograph for their little
Wow.
brother, or somebody wanted to come in his room and wrestle with him just because he was Pistol Pete and I'm a football player. And, I just want to tell my friends that I was in Pistol Pete's dorm room wrestling with him or whatever.
Wow.
So
Well, and you think about that era, coach, that's before social media. So you're talking
right.
about a guy, like a Muhammad Ali that everybody just, hears stories and, there's talk of legend of him, but I guess just to be in his presence would be like, a Michael Jordan or a Kobe or a LeBron. But think about that, all before social media. Here's this guy, a white guy, who's just playing amazing basketball and showcasing abilities that no one has seen before.
Right. He
Man,
just, when he got off the court, number one, he wanted to try to replenish himself, get some good food, get some good
yeah.
rest, try to get ready for the next practice or next game. And, the most fun we had, of course, was during the off season.
Oh,
In
yeah.
the season, we're trying to, do what we got to do, trying to win the next game or whatever. But, we roomed together on the road, and sometimes I could tell, because he'd be sort of quiet to himself sometime and, thinking about the game or whatever. And, pressure, there's all kind of pressure put on his dad, pressure put on him, pressure put on the team. And, if things didn't go right, if we lost 2 games in a row, or, what's wrong with Pistol Pete? He's not scoring enough or whatever. I mean, there's
Wow.
always, when you're on top of the mountain, somebody's always trying to knock you off.
Yeah.
And just like today, if the social media, if you're doing everything, it seems to be perfect, there's always somebody that's trying to find a chink in your armor.
Yeah.
And he was no different. He's human, just like everybody else.
That's right.
And
Yeah.
so anyway, he tried to be one of the guys
Yeah. Yeah.
among his teammates. He really tried to be one of the guys, but it was still very difficult to be one of the guys, because he was Pistol Pete, and everybody, like I said, wanted to be around him, wanted to be a part of him. So sometimes he had to he had to start getting into like a recluse situation, just
Wow.
like Elvis.
Yeah.
You got to start staying away from people, and to try to get the peace you need, whether it's your studies you got to do or whether you got to get ready for the next game. And that's not always easy.
Yeah.
Or you're out to dinner with your special number one girlfriend, and you got somebody coming up bothering you while you're eating, trying to, and that kind of stuff doesn't seem like much, but all at once, 10 people do it in the same restaurant one night,
Yeah.
and it can try on a person. But he handled the pressure. That's what shocked me the most, how well he handled the pressure of being a great All-American. His sophomore year, he's a first-team All-American. His junior year, first-team All-American. Both years led the nation in scoring. His third year, Naismith Player of the Year. I mean, his sophomore year, they played a all-star game before the Olympic trials, and he was like the star of stars with all these stars together. He was the best, played the best game that night. I think they played it at Vanderbilt that night or whatever. So anytime he laced him up, somebody was trying to say, are you going to do more tonight, or can you do more? And
Wow.
so you end up creating a monster, whether you try to or not. And
Yeah.
so it's not just, it's Tom Brady.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
all of them. I mean,
Yeah.
it's when you're the GOAT, the greatest of all time, whether it's a college basketball player or NFL player, it puts an unbelievable amount of pressure on that person, because
Yeah.
they get sick too.
Yeah.
They get
Right.
stomach aches. And it
Great
doesn't matter to Michael
conversation.
Jordan, like Michael Jordan performing against the Jazz in the NBA playoffs.
Yeah.
I mean, that's incredible what he did.
Yeah.
But he sucked it up and found a way. to help his team win another world championship. I mean,
Wow.
Michael Jordan was, as we all know, is the best ever of all time at any
Oh,
level.
you bet.
But
Ladies and gentlemen, again, this is Coach Russ Bergman. And Coach, this is fun because all the years that we've known each other, hanging out at the NBA summer leagues or, going to, have dinner, this is raw conversation. You and I have never discussed this before in our past. And so to me, it's just fascinating that, it just amazes me that you, how in tune you were with that. You were his teammate, you were being a great teammate, you wanted to, be successful yourself. And I think about the success you've had in your coaching career. Is there anything that you picked up from Coach Presmarovich that you remember repeating, or maybe you emulated or you took from him as another coach as you were having success all around the globe yourself?
no question. All my coaches, whether it's my high school coach, Coach McCreary, Coach Maravich, Coach Burnbrock, my freshman coach, Coach Truitt, any
Wow.
basketball coach that I had, I tried to find what I thought that was most impressive about what I thought that they were doing right. And that's what coaches do. They try to pick from different coaches and establish their own basketball philosophy. But the biggest thing Coach Maravich taught me that I think helped me is he said, Rusty, he said, don't just always use somebody else's offense. He said, look at your talent and your players in your coaching ability and think about what's good for your team. And then sit down at home and draw up plays that will complement your players.
Love it.
And then you don't have to have the same zone offense, as Lute Olson or somebody. I mean, you can draw up your own zone offense. And sometimes when you draw it up, because when you're teaching it to your players, you have to be a salesman. And
That's
if
right.
you really believe in what you are doing on offense, whether it's a zone or man offense, or even on defense, a press or a matchup zone or whatever, if you don't sell it to your players that this is a great zone offense, or this is an awesome press that they can't get through, it's a sales job and they have to believe. So you have to be a great salesman and teach them the right way and the wrong way to do things. And when they buy into it, and they all buy into it together, 10 or 12 players as a team, it's just like magic as to how well they can play on offense or play on defense. But that's one thing I got from Coach early on. And I know I got criticized a little bit in a Virginia paper because when I took over as head coach at Appalachian State and replaced Coach Maravich, and I put in a new zone offense against VMI, because they hurt us the game we played at home with the zone. And I thought, well, coach said that, this is something I need to, if I think I need to do something different. So I took what we were doing with Coach Maravich being the head coach and what I thought maybe we ought to do. So I took and started drawing what I thought would work against VMI. And so I kept doing different things and drawing till I thought that this would work. Wow. And so I didn't have much time to put it in. So actually, when we got to Lexington, Virginia, where VMI is located, we were playing the game that night. So I got the players, we got in the hotel rooms and ate a pregame or whatever. I said, okay, fellas, I said, we're going out to the parking lot because I got something I need to show you. And they're all looking at me like, this coach is crazy. So, of course, I am a little crazy, but anyway.
We got to be
Okay,
in this industry.
Okay, here's a parking spot. And we're going to just imagine that's a lane. So what I did, I took the ice bucket out of the room and put tape around it. And I said, now this is going to be the ball. And I'm going to teach you the new zone offense that we're going to run tonight. And so I had to sell that to them. And I taught them the zone offense. We started the game against VMI. Sure enough, they threw up that 2-3 zone or 1-2-2. I don't remember exactly what kind they threw up. And we killed it.
Wow.
We brought them out of the zone. We did a great job, brought them out of it. And unfortunately, they still beat us with man-to-man that day. But anyway, we kept getting better and better and better. But that's why I say you have to do sometimes what you think is best. And maybe even though Al McGuire may have used this offense or whatever, or even Dean Smith or Bobby Knight, that doesn't mean
Yeah,
it's perfect for you and your players.
that's right.
And that's why I know the first time I saw John Wooden at a clinic and saw him demonstrate how to run his 2-2-1 press, full court press on the court, I went, wow. I said, no wonder he won 10 NCAA championships in 12 years. His exactness and preciseness, exactly what he want every player to do in every situation when the ball moved here or a player moved there. I said, that's why they won so many championships.
Man.
There's no gray area. He makes sure
Yeah.
every player knows exactly where they're supposed to be all the time.
Yeah. Great stuff. And coach, this is something else that I've always appreciated about you. No matter how much success you had, you were always a student of the game, and you were always learning, and you were always observing. Because now, pre-pandemic, I remember us being at the NBA Summer League, and we're sitting there, and I think we were watching the Mavericks and the Pelicans, and I just made the comment. I was like, "Man, ball moves, score moves." You wrote that down, and you go, "Coach, I like that. I'm using that." And I thought, "Oh my gosh," because again, always being a student of the game and picking up pointers or picking up something that you like that fits your personality or your philosophy or your style of play. I mean, that's how we become good at what we
Like
do.
just a little cliche, just like you said, just
Yeah.
a little zinger that will catch the player's ear.
Yeah, right? Yeah. Oh, and and I sit there and I thought, here's a guy who's had success at the college level. You've been in the NBA, you were overseas at some of the highest levels, and yet you always continued to learn and grow and evolve. And to have that basketball mind and basketball IQ, and you share it, is just something wonderful, within our industry. And that's something I wanted to compliment you on that I know a lot of viewers wouldn't realize about you, but man, you've just always been so detail oriented, and you've always been a great communicator. And I've always tried to pick your brain as much as I could to help me with my career.
Well, the thing that people don't understand, I've been very fortunate that our teams have won a lot of championships.
Yeah.
But what people don't understand, I learned from the championships we lost.
Ooh.
Back when
Yeah.
we were in AIA, my second and third year at Coastal Carolina, we lost 2 championships to go to the national tournament in Kansas City. And so you learn.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
every time, it may be a single game during the season. And they always say, you learn a lot more from a loss than you do after a win. And of course, it's very important to also try to learn things after a win, but you got to go
Yeah.
back to the video and study, okay, we may have won tonight, but what could we have done better? But a
Right.
loss, the head coach is wondering, why did we lose? But also the players, it's easier to get next day in practice with the players and you've lost, it's easier to get their attention.
That's right.
Because they want to win too.
Yeah. Yeah. And
When they're keeping score, no competitive person wants to lose.
that's right.
So therefore, they want to figure out a way to get better as an individual and get better as a team. And so, trust me, I've done a lot of things wrong in my coaching career, but I've tried to learn from every time that I did make a mistake and try to, change. It may be something that we're doing on offense and defense. It may be something I've done with a player. Could be a substitution.
Yeah.
There's so many variables, but the one thing that I've always loved about being a coach in the game is to try to start preseason with your team and try to do everything you need to do on offense and defense to get ready for everything that the opposing coach and team can throw at you, whether it's their offense or their defense, and you're ready for it.
Yeah.
And that's when you know your team is good, is they can handle any situation any team throws at you, and you can't scare us, you can't bother us, you can't hurt us. We know how to handle everything.
Yeah.
And when you get your team to that point, that self-confidence they have and you have helps you win championships.
I love that, Coach. This is just nuggets that you're dropping, ladies and gentlemen. Again, we're blessed and honored to have my friend Coach Russ Bergman, a guest on the show, dropping knowledge, dropping wisdom, dropping nuggets. Um, I'm sure you guys are as entertained as I am right now just having this conversation. Coach, we've got, a little less than 10 minutes here. Tell us something about Russ Bergman that maybe people who knew you from high school or in your college days that people wouldn't realize about Coach Bergman until you share it with us right now. Give us a little peel that onion a little bit. Tell us about what you
Hmm.
love to do now, what motivates you, what drives you.
I think I've always tried to make my players better people.
Yeah. Oh,
And because you get as a coach, whether you're a high school coach, junior high coach, even a biddy league coach, you get these kids and college players and pro players even.
yeah,
And you take them like a piece of clay, like Coach Maravich did with his son, Pistol Pete.
yeah,
And now you're trying to take them and make them not only a better basketball player on all facets of the game and as a team player, but you're also trying to make them a better person.
right.
And I've always tried to put something on my desk that you get what you demand. And so
Mm,
you have to make sure your players are doing what you want them to do. And I've tried to always, especially college players, because one day they're going to graduate and they may not go to the NBA or CBA, or they may not make a living with the round ball. It goes flat on. We call it going flat. So you got to have that degree so I can actually make a living in this world. And I always try to make them understand, please do everything you can to add to society, today's society. Don't be a taker, be a giver. Get
oh,
your
wow.
degree, do something, be somebody, be able to earn a living, to take care of yourself and your family. So you're not one of those guys going for a handout.
Right.
I
Yeah.
want you to be a giver, not a taker, and find a way that you're going to contribute to today's society and not take from it. And I think that disappoints me when I see some players that especially the ones that don't make it. It seems like they end up being the biggest takers.
Mm.
They're things didn't pan out the way they wanted to.
Yeah,
And I
it's
think
kind of that sense of entitlement that some
yeah,
kids have because they've been given so much or been told how
right,
great they were for so long. And of course,
right.
as you were sharing those nuggets right there, I'm sitting here writing things down, and it's almost like another zinger. As coaches, if you don't correct it, you accept it, and
That's
so
right.
you got to
That's right.
change behaviors. You got to modify practice schedules and routines and you know you can't make a player be obsessed with the game, but you can show them, what to work on to be a better player. You can, and what to do to be a better person, how to give back, and
Right.
how to impact a community, just like you have in every college community that you've been a part of, or even cities, where your franchises played overseas. And
So
again, that's something that I've respected
yeah,
from you.
you just said it right there. If you don't correct it, you accept it. And that's part of your philosophy. See, and that's perfect. And that's what you have to do. Again, you get what you demand. If you don't correct it,
Amen.
you accept it. And sometimes it's tough because being the disciplinarian is not always easy.
Yeah.
Sometimes players, will gobble it up, and other times, they may go against you or whatever. And so that's what's difficult sometimes, especially that's what I admire so much about John Calipari with his
Ooh,
Kentucky Wildcats.
yeah.
I mean, I mainly admire him so much because he's taken all these unbelievable, great high school All-Americans. He signed them. They're bringing them to Kentucky. They're spoiled rotten because everybody told them how great they are.
Yeah.
They've been given everything, patted on the back, and you're going to be an NBA player, blah, 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 blah. And he takes them and breaks them down and makes them understand you're an individual player. And if we don't do this thing as a team, and we don't have a team at Kentucky, and if you don't average 9 points instead of you averaging 29 points like you did in high school, we're not going to win a national championship. But he takes all these freshmen, or primarily freshmen, and gets it done in one semester. And then the second semester, he's winning 20 games or possibly win the SEC or possibly the national championship.
Yeah.
I mean, that is so difficult
Yeah.
because these kids, I mean, it gets more difficult every year. And now with the transfer portal, your discipline is almost out the window because, again, when you try to come down on them to correct them, they'll say, I'll just transfer and go somewhere else and play next year.
Yeah. Yeah. And now you got the NIL and
Yeah.
so many changes. And
Yeah.
there's got to be coaches out there that who are trying to teach life lessons and
Yes.
empower players with skills so they can be good character men. But because of how things are at the grassroots level and AAU, we don't get to teach the life skills like what we want to, because that's just as important as the wins and losses. We got to create character, and we got to create people who are, going to give back to their communities. And I think it's wonderful. Coach, this has just been phenomenal. And, I guess for us coaches, we know we're in positions of leadership and we're not going to make everybody happy because, heck, if we wanted to do that, we'd be ice cream salesmen along the street somewhere. But
I like that. I like that.
so
Mr.
anyway.
Mikey ringing the bell.
Hey, do. But anyway, Coach, it's been just an honor and a pleasure to have you on here, and I want to share this with our viewers. Nothing but love and respect and admiration for you because of the person you are, the champion that you have been, and how you mold men to become greater men. And I thank you for that. And thank you for, all the time we've spent together and for your friendship. I've got nothing but love for you. But in 1 minute, any last words for our viewers and guests today, my friend?
Scott, we all learn from each other. I learned from you. Just listen to you in this show talk. I even pick up some nuggets from you today.
Wow.
And so I think it's so important for every walk of life, but especially coaches, to try to continue to be open-minded and continue to learn. I know I'm looking at some things online and thinking about going to a basketball clinic this fall just to get some cobwebs out of my head and challenge believe it or not, and I've done this my whole life, but I want to see, is there possibly anything new? There never is, but is there possibly anything new? And how could I implement or how do I want to tweak it or whatever? And, at the same time, I think I'm going to try to help some college coaches and go to their practices and try
Wow.
to critique them, their coaching staff and their team, if they will allow me, if they'll accept that.
Yeah.
In other words, I want to make sure that what I give them, they want. And I think that's something that I have to offer. And I think that's something you have to offer. And it's something that we owe it to ourselves to give that and share that with some college coaches and teams and even some high schools.
Right.
So,
one candle does not lose its flame for igniting another candle. And here you are passing the torch because you won't say it, but you have forgotten more basketball than a lot of these young guys have ever learned. So for you to be able to share that and ignite many candles around the globe, God bless you, my friend. And hey, you're one of the best, and I mean that with all sincerity, my friend.
You're very gracious, Coach Scott. I appreciate you so much. Thank you.
Hey, listen, have a great day, and thank you again for being a part of the show. Ladies and gentlemen, again, blessed and honored to have Coach Bergman on here with us today, one of the best, and I truly mean that. And brother, I can't wait to cross paths with you, hug your neck,
We got
and
to
have
do
a
this
meal.
again because we both got a bunch of more stories to tell and life lessons or whatever. We could talk for 3 hours, like I said.
We haven't even started.
That's right. That's right.
Oh, that's awesome. Coach, I appreciate your time. God bless. Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned for another edition of the Coach Scott Field Show. But this one here is going to be a hard one to follow. God bless you, Coach, and thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Scott.